but they just want us to lock in the fact that we will continue to do this show how we want to do it, maybe in a bigger way in the FanDuel Igloo, which we will be moving into in about 4 or 5 months for at least 3 years.
Pat McAfee, the host of a hugely successful radio show and YouTube channel, revealed on Thursday that he had inked a new deal with FanDuel for an unbelievable amount of money. Stay tuned because you're going to want to stick around for all the details. First up, the big reveal. It's a 4-year deal with an opt-out after 3 years, initially reported by NFL source Ian Rappaport, and according to Shams Charania, McAfee will be paid about $30 million per year by FanDuel, which isn't close to what he made while punting for the Colts. However, McAfee will not take home $30 million per year because that sum is likely to include compensation for his co-host AJ Hawk, as well as a team of producers and other program participants. Regardless, McAfee is the driving force, and this is a massive compensation package that will surely spread across the sector. First and foremost, McAfee deserves a lot of respect for constantly betting on himself. It was a bold move for him to leave the NFL in 2016 to join Barstool Sports and create his own company. McAfee still gambled on himself at every stage, and it paid off handsomely. McAfee and Barstool part ways. McAfee and Barstool's friendship deteriorated after only 2 years. Being situated in Indiana while Barstool's business was taking place in New York, according to McAfee, created an issue. McAfee made it clear upon his departure from the firm that his departure had nothing to do with Barstool founder David Portnoy or Barstool Sports CEO Erica Nardini. When he departed, Portnoy praised McAfee and stated that he liked and respected him and pleaded with him to remain, but he realizes that Pat must do what he believes is best for him and said he was a complicated guy who was rightfully distrustful of some of his business associates. Hint of jealousy from Portnoy. Short after McAfee signed his first deal with FanDuel in July 2020, Portnoy tweeted a snarky message saying he'd be a lot richer and McAfee a lot poorer if he hadn't taught him how to bet on sports a couple of years ago. Portnoy went on to say that he believes he is entitled to 9 of those bags for raising his limits and then having McAfee abandon him. Seems like McAfee's edgy and personal demeanor has made Portnoy a little salty. Diversifying the way to success. McAfee also deserves credit for consistently accepting gigs in order to expand his following and name recognition. He's worked on ESPN studio shows, called NFL Games for Fox, competed in NXT, and is now the color commentator for WWE's Friday Night SmackDown. This large payday was a direct result of that unwavering determination, but it's doing things his way when it comes to his daily broadcasts that McAfee deserves the most credit for. No limits for McAfee, hassle-free production. McAfee could have made big money working for practically any media business, but he understood that in order to deliver his best show, he needed to be unfiltered and unrestricted by regulations. By streaming on YouTube and collaborating with FanDuel, McAfee doesn't have to limit himself, and he doesn't have to listen to know-it-all radio executives. Doing it the McAfee way. McAfee, on the other hand, isn't only dropping F-bombs and doing crazy acts. He's merged elements of traditional sports talk radio shows with his own broadcast style, and it's worked out beautifully. The things that work in sports media are one of a kind, and McAfee is a one-of-a-kind company. On a daily basis, he brings in insiders, interviews athletes, and predicts NFL games. Basically everything you'd expect from a sports talk show. But, as proven by his weekly appearances with Aaron Rodgers, he accomplishes those things unlike any other radio host. Loyal to his roots, no sign of complacency. Despite being a former NFL player, McAfee has endeared himself to his devoted fans by portraying himself as a common man. This was evident when McAfee announced that he was making his parents millionaires, awarding $250,000 bonuses to each of his co-hosts and producers, and donating at least $6 million to charity. The future of gambling. McAfee's massive contract is particularly significant because it demonstrates how gambling corporations are drastically altering the media landscape. While many people were surprised that McAfee would receive a $120 million contract, the reality is that FanDuel paid $120 million to have their brand promoted by McAfee and his show. The gambling growth is greater than anyone had predicted, and one can bet, pun intended, that a lot of sports journalists are wondering how they might cooperate with FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, and other companies today. Next, in other NFL news, Tom Brady. On Sunday night, Tom Brady's fairy tale career gained a few more must-read chapters. The Buccaneers quarterback connected with receiver Brashad Perryman for a game-winning touchdown, giving him 700 career throwing touchdowns, that's regular season and playoffs combined, and a dramatic 33-27 overtime triumph against the Bills. Brady threw the game-winning score in overtime for the second time in his career, alongside Week 7 in 2003. Brady and the Bucs were in command for much of Sunday's game against one of the league's best defenses, jumping out to a 24-3 7-3 lead at halftime. However, a second-half surge by Josh Allen and the Bills' high-powered offense tied the game at 27 right before the conclusion of regulation. With 8:48 remaining in the game, Brady and his teammates returned to the field after Tampa Bay's defense made a vital stop. Brady calmly stepped into his throw like a closer on the pitcher's mound 7 plays into a drive that saw him connect with Chris Godwin for a 6-yard gain and Rob Gronkowski for a big 14-yard chunk play. Brady connected with Perryman on a 5-yard strike that he took 53 yards upfield for the game-winning score. Baker Mayfield. This season, Baker Mayfield has been dealing with a number of major ailments. The starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns had a difficult 2021 season. The Browns are still in contention for the playoffs, but they have not lived up to expectations this season. Mayfield's inability to play at 100% health is likely to blame for some of this. This year, Mayfield has admitted that he has been in a lot of pain. His shoulder injury is the most prominent. Mayfield stated that this is the most battered he has ever been, and that it is the result of several factors, not just one. Mayfield will most likely require off-season surgery, according to CBS Sports. Urban Meyer, the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, wants to get rid of the garbage, which he refers to as the person or persons leaking information about what is going on inside the facility to the outside world. On Saturday, it was reported that he had a roaring battle with receiver Marvin Jones and that he labeled his assistant coaches losers. Meyer denied both Sunday and said anyone leaking information risks losing their job. Jones had to be persuaded to return to the team facilities after leaving in protest to Meyer's written criticism of the wide receivers, league sources revealed to ESPN on Saturday. Meyer and Jones reportedly had a heated exchange at practice after he returned, according to sources. Meyer, on the other hand, refuted that he and Jones had a falling out, as well as the NFL Network allegation that he referred to his assistant coaches as losers and interrogated their capabilities during a staff meeting. Jones did approach Meyer to challenge what Meyer had said about the receivers, according to Meyer, but the interaction was not hostile. Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers sprinted off the field Sunday night. Bruce Arians ferried off in a golf cart that was speeding through the tunnel so fast that the coach had to hold on to the windshield. Rashad Perryman had just taken a pass in overtime, short third down, and he ran without being touched by any Buffalo Bills defender for the game-deciding 58-yard touchdown. The Buccaneers had escaped with a 33-27 overtime victory after taking a massive halftime lead and allowing a dramatic second-half rally, with Tom Brady distributing the ball to so many weapons that you had to double-check the roster to identify who wore number 16 on the game-winning play. The Bucs, on the other hand, had failed to snare something else that had been within their grasp earlier in the day, the Bills' final piece of fight. The loss was heartbreaking for the Bills and the thousands of fans who traveled east for the game, perhaps even more so than the loss to the New England Patriots 6 days prior. The ramifications for the playoff race could be significant, but the Bills did not go quietly, and it takes a lot of willpower to dismiss the notion that this was a moral victory for them. Teams with quarterbacks like Josh Allen, who carried the Bills with his arm and his feet, including one shocking one, aren't supposed to require moral wins in the middle of December when a playoff berth is still within reach. Well, that's the end of today's video, guys. Hope you liked it. If you did, hit that like button and comment below to let us know what you think of this deal for Pat McAfee. To keep seeing content like this, subscribe to our channel and ding that notification bell to be notified whenever we upload more content. Stay tuned.